Well, this is a good exercise in trying to practice what I preach. I have not put another video out since the first one, and it's been over a week. And I have been really busy with a lot of stuff. And and the truth is, I don't plan on ever advertising these videos to anyone. And I don't say that like I'm planning to keep them secret or hidden. I think the whole point with Stonewall eventually is I do want to have it be a shared thing that I think I've given up on this mindset that I'm going to create my art and make a ton of money off of it. Like it's so fascinating. When I first started my Stonewall newsletter back when I was 21 years old, and email was just becoming a new thing, and computers were, you know, used. It wasn't like computers were super new, but Windows um, was making things more usable. There was a little bit of with Microsoft Word, you could do some pretty cool art things at that time. Being able to format a picture and text on a page yourself on a computer, like that was pretty big when I was starting my newsletter out. And so I was putting my poems and art and just pictures that inspired me. And like my vision was I'm going to create this newsletter and somehow like it's going to get triggered and maybe somebody else like will know or meet up. I don't know that I had a clear idea. I just wanted to like express and share like this is stuff that I think is cool. And and a bunch of people said, "Hey, that's great. I love this." And we're excited to get the newsletter. And it was kind of a stressful thing. I did it once a month and I got through 7 editions, I think. And but it was like it was a very uh rewarding and stressful endeavor for a couple reasons. First is that I was trying to do it like to make myself look good, I think, in a way, to share and showcase my art and poetry and thinking. And I think because of that, it still came across because I don't think I ever came across like, look at me, I am this brilliant person, super talented. I think it came across as humble because I felt genuinely humble. Like I didn't feel like I was this amazing artist or amazing poet. I didn't feel like I had any special gift. I was really just trying to put this out of saying, hey, I have something that I want to share. And I think it's cool and beautiful and maybe someone else will. And and I also had in the back of my mind that somehow I didn't know how, but just the potential of the internet and the idea that it could go out to countless numbers of people potentially, that idea was so real and exciting that what if I came up with a product and what if I sold it for $1 and like I had 1 million people pay and I had $1 million from that? That I just was so exciting, that idea, the concept. And it's funny how now I feel like I've gone through so much of that process. I've gone through like a ridiculous amount of time and study into online marketing, into influence and persuasion and sales, into all kinds. I'd say like the white hat and black hat talks that they have, as far as like, hey, you can use this and just it's good, and hey, this is like manipulative and bad. And part of that was my own, journey of wanting to get in and fix my own like issues, my problems myself. I wanted get into self-hypnosis and all these other things, trying to like reprogram my brain and get all the bad stuff out, like that so I could somehow, you know, influence myself enough to where I, you know, could do all the things, be the person, that I wanted to be successful, eliminate every vice, all the stuff that plagued me throughout my life. And so that whole journey, as far as like all of the courses and coaches and everything that I just all the rabbit holes that I went down. It it's fascinating now. I feel like I'm in a position where I kind of just want to share some of the stuff that I know, but I think I'm back to that mode that I just want to share stuff that's beautiful to me that I think is cool and meaningful and try and like pick out the diamonds. Um, it's hard because I didn't so I haven't come up with a script yet, and I don't, and I think I do want to. Eventually, I want to have a script behind these videos so that there's some structure. Because anyone who knows me knows, like, I'll think of an idea and then another idea, and in my mind, I see all the connections as I'm talking, and as I say something, like in my mind, I like, oh yeah, I went from here, and then I went to here, and then I went to here, and it all made sense. But generally, when I talk to other people and get their feedback, and I can see their reactions as I'm talking, I get that there needs to be a little more structure. That sometimes I come across as like way out there, or how wait, how did we get to that point? And I don't I think until I have some structure or feel like I'm offering some value, that's where I don't necessarily want to share these openly, these videos, because I value my time. And it's one of the most maddening things when I'm watching something, if I want to learn something, and there's a 10-minute video and they spend 9 minutes rambling, and then the actual information is that last minute. I think, why didn't you just cut to the, like, I wanted that. Like, why did you make me wait 9 minutes worth of just fluff and garbage and stuff until you got to the point? And so that's until I get a little more structure and a little bit more, I guess, being more deliberate and intentional on these. My plan is not to share them and say, "Hey, watch this." I'll just have them posted. They're available. I think in some ways, I want it to be available. Just see the contrast, right? This is how I started out. This is how I finished. And it's so funny because even that idea, just the what I just did with that gesture, I look it's so funny because one of the Brendan Burchard is one of my heroes, and I look back at his training videos, and I realized he was one of the only influencers that thoughtfully, intentionally trained himself, that he knows how he figured, how the other person sees his presentation. And almost everyone who says like start to finish, in their mind, they're thinking of themselves. And so they're thinking, start on the left, if they read and write with English and all that stuff, like start on the left, move your way right. But the audience sees it opposite, right? And so on all of his videos that he trains, he says start to finish. And so I've kind of conditioned, and that's the other thing too. I think I finally, it's been a tender mercy just this last couple of weeks, when I had some more time, and the guys, I went through some um, training with them, more on life skills than um, yeah, than anything. And I think the reason I wanted to do that, I think I was wanting, and I'm in the mode of doing that right now myself, anyways. But we had some time, and I felt like I want to invest in these guys. Like I, I truly care about the guys that work for me right now, and they are doing fantastic. And they're not perfect, and there's things they do that bother me, and but it's fun. There's things that I do that bother me a lot, and I get that everybody's got their stuff that they're good at and that they struggle with, and but we joke about some of that. But like when I went through this process with them, some of the training stuff, um, it it was very helpful to revisit the idea. And maybe I'll end this video on this because like I said, I haven't scripted this, and I don't want to have this be like a big long rambly video with no value. And so this idea that I had them do, I would encourage everybody to do it because it really is super helpful and valuable. And I think for everybody, even if I guess there's some people that might not be as helpful for because they might already think that they're the best thing ever. But for the vast majority of people that I think do struggle at times with, am I good enough? Um, I told him to make a list, and I have a list that's over 100 now. I've compiled it. It's taken a couple times to do it, but I think instead of saying to make a list of 100 things, I would even recommend it's even more valuable to spend like even if it was just a minute every day and just do like one thing a day. I think that would be so valuable. And so when I say one thing that is for this list, or if it's one thing a day, the idea of this is what is good about me. And that could be attributes, skills, talents, gifts. There's all kinds of words. It can be experiences. And when I was telling the guys this, I was saying, hey, there's a whole spectrum of stuff that you can put into this that really is valuable if you think about it. It could be, some people could obviously have talents and skills as far as that they've developed with athletics or singing or things that we tend to think about quickly when we think of talents and skills. Could be good at math, whatever, that kind of thing. All the way to I got out of bed this morning. I really didn't feel like it. The idea that this does not have to be some monumental, super impressive, but that's the idea that you make a list though, is it's a compilation of good. And I think one of the reasons for that is most of us, I feel like, tend to go through life and I'll use this analogy, and I think this is where me like taking one idea to another. Hopefully this tracks and you can see where I'm going with this. Um, so many people have heard of the jar uh, analogy where if you put big rocks in first, then you put in smaller rocks and then like the sand, and then like you can fit more in the bottle, but the point is not so much that you can fit all that stuff. The point is that you got the big rocks in, like the important, valuable stuff. Because if you put the sand in first, you're not going to fit all the big rocks. Anyways, so I recognize that it's been like almost overdone because it's so true, it's so fundamental, and so everyone has talked about that. But I think beyond that, I think there's a difference in putting a bunch of rocks and sand in your jar and then taking just a little step farther and recognizing, like, wow, I think some of these, you know, are diamonds, some of these are precious stones, some of this is gold. And I don't think it takes that much effort to do that. I think it does take effort though. I don't think we naturally look at the rocks and that we put in, and we don't necessarily appreciate those. And I don't say we need to dwell on that forever. The whole idea of Stonewall, is that you're placing stones on the wall and that like is your life, but it's like it's fun to go back and see how it all fits together, but it's not a place to live. Like the idea is not to say like I built that and I'm like the best, look at how cool my wall is, and like think that somehow you're done and that that's all worthwhile in the past. Like the real value is like you become more and more of a stone builder, or a wall builder. I don't know. The analogy, I don't know whether I want to take it beyond what it needs to be. But I do think that these videos, as they go forward, will hopefully have a lot more intention, and it'll reflect me getting better at placing stones and offering value. But I really would invite you to, at the bare minimum, take a minute right now and just say, like, what is something that's good for me, that are good about me? Like, what's something I can celebrate that I've done in the past that I can look back on and say, like, yeah, I did that right. It really is crazy because we could do that so easily for other people, and we so often just neglect doing that for ourselves. So rather than rambling on it anymore, maybe I'll end with Brendan Burchard. I love this quote, and I think I might have done this with the last video. So maybe this will be a habit. You're better than you know, and the future holds good things for you. So till next time.